That's a cracking right hand. And that must finish it.
Taylor trying to catch himself, using his jab. Eats a right hand. Another right hand. And he goes down. Oh my goodness.
The dream is made real. Ricky Hatton rocks the world with a truly stunning win over a modern legend. He is the champion of the world.
Yes, people. Raps on TV, we're back again. It's been a busy weekend, as most of you hardcore boxing fans would know. We've been quiet of late. It's the summer off, so we've been taking care of business individually, but back to kind of reconvene and talk about all the big fights that will be taking place over the next few weeks. It's fair to say last weekend was an eventful one. Not just going down in Nandos, it went down in the Dublin, in the Belfast, SSE Windsor Park. So definitely looking forward to getting into that. Joined today by co-host Tom Lyons. Tom, how you doing, my man?
How's it going, Coach? Nice to hear from you again, my man. And it's been, as you said, a very quiet period for British boxing particularly. But, I mean, on the other hand, with all this Nando shenanigans between Billy Joe Saunders and Wilder, I mean, it's carried through the momentum from the weekend to September, and it should be a good season ahead, hopefully, Coach.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think so. I think, we're going to talk about, obviously, Canelo Triple G rematch in a few weeks. Garcia versus Porter, Billy Joe Saunders on Andrade. Obviously, Joshua Povetkin, which after last weekend is probably losing its popularity, given you can still get tickets and there's confirmations in terms of touts, reaching out to you for buying tickets. So, I definitely agree with you. It's going to be a busy, active period. Looking forward to what comes up. So, obviously, main event this weekend, another one of those fight nights where the co-main event kind of takes over. We had the man who is the legendary, mystical Tyson Fury going up against Pianetta. Obviously, his second fight back since his much publicised sort of like hiatus from the world of boxing. What did you make of the fight? And I guess really Fury's performance.
Yeah, I mean, when I got to the opportunity to rewatch the fight, I was quite impressed with the way Fury's now taking it a bit more seriously. The first fight with Fury wasn't exactly appealing to the eye, but there's definitely been glimpses of that old footwork, movement, and a slickness that we often see from Fury that's given him the advantage over most heavyweights nowadays. Not the robotic sort of, come forward 1-2 heavyweight. He's shown different elements that can obviously prove that he's an elite level fighter. And there was a little, there's glimpses of it in the fight against Pianetta, but I mean, personally, I think it's still 1 or 2 fights too early, but hats off to him. If the Wilder fight comes, well, we know now it's materialised, comes about, and it happens in the US, then, I mean, best of luck to him and hope he gets the job done again.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the performance, obviously Pianetta is not somebody that's going to be kind of like really there to cause an upset, no matter how they would have tried to sell it going into the fight. But I don't think it was about the opposition as much as it was. Obviously, Fury was disgraceful, but I think with Fury, and this is my assessment, it's all about steps. So the first fight was just about getting under the lights, the crowd, and maybe even shaking off. Obviously, there's still ring rust, but shaking it off, getting some confidence. This fight, I think you could see the positives. Now, I'm not saying it was a perfect Fury performance, of course not, but there were, interesting things that we were able to see. So you could see he still was switch hitting. He was still the movement, the moving of the head. He's always looked a bit flabby, so people are going to think, well, he's not in great shape. Okay, he's not imperfect, but he's never really ever been a Wilder Joshua kind of, physique in terms of being heavily toned. So from that perspective, I think, people are maybe being overcritical. I think we're going to see the politics creep in a lot more because, again, it looks like this fight is going to happen and we're going to get on it. But I just think people are being overcritical on Fury's performance. And I just think, well, are you doing it for his welfare? People saying, oh, he's not ready, he's this. Well, how can anybody apart from the people in his camp say that? And if he wants to step up, isn't that why we like boxing? So yes, I think it was a good performance from him. And as we said, it was going to be hard to kind of avoid this subject per se. But we had Wilder, who was in Belfast. I mean, let's kind of go by this night by night. So Wilder lands, you see him at the weigh-in, and he has a clash with John Fury. What were your thoughts when you saw that footage?
It was quite amusing, to be fair. I mean, John Fury's not short of words, is he? But yeah, I mean, he's quite a straight talking man. I mean, he's not afraid to get involved in the old, altercations with the fighters. But I think it's 100% a great publicity move from Warren. It's the way, the timing of it, the way he sort of barraged into the hotel for the weigh-in, and then sort of trying to interfere with obviously the focus on the main event. And I mean, the whole weekend, the way everything, sort of the run of events and what's happened from the very first minute he landed to the final bell. I mean, it's just been a great PR move, because I mean, with a fight of such magnitude going to happen in December, Fury, obviously a lot of criticism for, like you said, first fight back was only just getting under the lights, shaking off the ring rust, and getting a feel again for boxing after a 2.5 year layoff. And then to have Wilder calling him out and saying how he's so easy to deal with, how Finkel and Warren just were able to click and the fight be able to happen straight away. It's just been a great sort of organisation of an event, because this is the fundamental for attracting the fan base and getting excitement about the fight. And I mean, it's paid off really. And Fury was a much better, as I said, focused on Pianetta as an opponent, a lot more game than what Safari was. And it's just great to see that he's not lost any sort of being able to get engaged with the pre-hype and the post-hype and such and so forth. So it's good to see that it all went smoothly, and there was nothing too, it didn't kick off too much, which is, it's good to have that humorous banter between the two camps.
Yeah, and I think, you actually said something there which is actually quite key, because, I saw an interview with Ricky Hatton, and he spoke about, the importance of getting rounds in that fight. And, you spoke about things going smoothly, and I do agree with you that actually there wasn't any major hiccups. And again, if you know boxing, you saw Tyson was doing things right. And I think because he's now lined up this fight with Wilder, people are looking to find areas to criticise rather than be positive and say, well, hang on a minute, look at the amount of weight he's lost, even from the Fury fight to now. That shows you that somebody's focused. And Fury, let's be honest, if you're familiar with Malcolm Gladwell, he's done his 10,000 hours. So when it comes to boxing, it's not about learning techniques or, learning how to throw the jab correctly. For him, it is solely, in my opinion, it's solely about his fitness and his stamina. And what's to say that if he's not training for 8 months solid, he's got another, maybe 4 months, 3-4 months before this Wilder clash. What's to say that he can't get up to speed? Now, we'll get into like how that fight could play out. But I think, for Fury, he just needs to know that he can get 12, 13 rounds in his body. Once he's got that, and I believe he feels he'll get that closely, I think we need to get behind this fight. So yeah, you're right. It's good that everything went smoothly. In terms of the ring entrance, what do you make of obviously Wilder getting into the ring with Fury?
Yeah, another sort of good move, similar to the way Joshua Klitschko, came about after the fight with Molina, I believe, was it Manchester? Yeah, and it's what you need really, because when a box office event like that's being announced, you need to have the two, faces on the billboard before you can sort of make any announcement. And that's probably the perfect way you can bring the two together. But just touching on the weight situation, Coach, just before we move on to talk about the fight. I mean, in terms of what people have said in and around boxing, saying that Fury, when he was at his worst, 25, 26 stone, I mean, I'm not disputing that he couldn't box at a good pace in terms of sparring for that duration. I mean, obviously, it's completely different under the lights, and we saw that with the first fight in his comeback. But I think I wouldn't be, I've got to give criticism of Fury's performance because it wasn't the most, convincing. As much as it was convincing in terms of the result, there was sort of incidences where he was getting clipped a bit and his defence wasn't as tight as what it would need to be against someone like Wilder, even though, like you said, Hatton's mentioned in an interview that he's not a very sound technical fighter, Wilder, and his feet can give him a lot of problems, but there's a lot more than I think the weight cut that's got to be, polished off before we can ultimately say that it's going to be a convincing performance from Fury against Wilder, similar to that of Klitschko and Dusseldorf. So it'll be interesting to see the next few months in preparation.
Yeah, no, and that's very true. I think, in terms of him polishing off and making sure he's as ready as he ever will be, I think we definitely saw that, he's not ready. If you even look at the way that he just kind of allowed himself to get pushed and trapped into the corners, and Pianetta was able to let off shots. There wasn't much power in those shots. So maybe Fury wasn't as worried, but at the same time, those were opportunities, and you definitely saw opportunities, which makes me, which also kind of makes me think about who I would pick to win that fight. But we know he's not 100%. But I think, going back to the kind of mindset of these individuals, you look at Billy Joe Saunders, again, Fury, I think it's the opponent that comes in front of them that makes them raise their game as well. So for Fury,
they're very good at boxing on the back foot as well. Yeah. I mean, when you're boxing on the outside, it's very easy to, go for the 3 rounds without necessarily having to use up all that energy when you do engage, because, I mean, Fury's not stupid. People around Fury are not stupid. They're not going to need to trade with Wilder. I mean, as much as it could turn out to be another boring fight, it's not as if he needs to prove anything that he can trade with these guys, because I'm sure if he does catch Wilder, he could hurt him, but we're more focused on seeing Fury, slipping shots, moving at angles, causing Wilder a lot of trouble, because we have seen Wilder's footwork does give him a lot of trouble himself. So I think Fury will use that as an advantage, move around him, use his jab. Because Wilder's, as much as he's good at landing that one shot, you've got to be able to get inside someone who's 6'9" before you can land the shot. And whether he can or not at Fury's best, I'm not too sure.
Exactly. I mean, I think, look, if you look at the Ortiz fight, there's no doubt that the Ortiz fight threw up a lot. Well, I say a lot, but it threw up the ultimate weakness for Deontay Wilder, and that is if he doesn't land that right hand, you have a very good chance of beating him. It's as very simple as that, because if there wasn't many occasions where Wilder was kind of out jabbing Ortiz. Obviously his shots are wild, but we know he's not technically sound. So for Fury, it's a dangerous fight, but it's one that he can win. You went back and said something about whether it would be entertaining. That will be the key thing, is that a lot of people that don't look at boxing in the kind of like purist way will find the fight boring, because Fury doesn't really have knockout power in the way that Wilder does. You would suggest, as you said, he'll want to keep the game long and fight at range, moving, switching up feet so he can go in different directions, pivoting. So for me, it's just going to be a points decision potentially, and it's whether Wilder catches him. Now, I think if Wilder can properly catch him with the right, I think it's going to be problems. But it's whether he can, and that's where the intrigue lies to this fight.
And Wilder carries a lot more power than Cunningham does, and if Cunningham could drop him, then, I mean, if Wilder does catch him clean, there is no doubt that, he could be on his arse at some point in the fight. So
and in terms of title shots for Fury, how long do you think he should have waited?
I mean, I'm not saying that he's not ready for a title shot, because, I mean, if you can call yourself a lineal champion, if the Ring magazine can, mandate their belt for a fight between him and Wilder, even though there is only technically one belt on the line, then I'm not disputing that the man can go and fight for a world title. I mean, wish him all the best. But in terms of being realistic, I mean, maybe 1 or 2 fights above the level of Pianetta, maybe someone like Manuel Shaw, even Shannon Briggs, even though he's well off what he was maybe, say, 20 years ago. But someone like Manuel Shaw, and a Dillian White, like, before he does fight. But then saying bringing Dillian White into the equation. I mean, I feel he deserves a title shot before Fury. As much as I like Fury, I think White has proven himself. I mean, 11 WBC world title fights. You know, you can't discredit someone that's done that. And patience can get you a long way in some parts of life, but it seems in boxing that he's waited so long, and he's just not been given the break he deserves. So it's a bit unfair for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I mean, you know, my thoughts. I definitely think White deserves a shot. I think the problem for him is, it really is that he's fought Joshua already, so his only option is Wilder, and obviously
you don't want that smoke, coach.
Say again.
You don't want that smoke.
Yeah, I'm sure Wilder doesn't want that smoke at all. But yeah, in terms of the politics, you can see the politics between the two camps. So it's one of those things where you're kind of saying to yourself, well, why would Wilder fight White when he wants Joshua? And obviously White is affiliated to Matchroom, so he gets in that muddle. But yeah, I definitely believe Dillian White deserves a title shot. It's just a shame, you know, he's only got two options, and one option's he's already lost to. I mean, in terms of, you know, speaking of Matchroom, what do you think Hearn would have been thinking, seeing all the shenanigans going on the weekend, from the Nandos, Billy Joe Saunders Ferrari to the face to face, to Fury taking the WBC belt, to clips of even there being an immediate face off. You know, what do you think you would have thought?
I think it'll be a bit bitter, won't it? Because obviously not being able to sign Fury, but I think it's good that he can now step back and see that Warren, I mean, he's landed two top quality title fights, one box office event and another domestic, dust up. But I mean, with all the back and forth that's gone on, I mean, I've got so bored of just seeing Hearn give his assessment of the negotiations. Finkel, I mean, when I watched Finkel's interview, I think it was with Boxing Social, they were very straightforward talker, and I mean, you can sort of, as much as I was kind of going with Hearn a lot of the time, I now sort of look back at it and think, if he was to sign Fury, was that only for him to use him as the second best option to Joshua, which he probably would be, obviously having, you know, all the marketability that Joshua has compared to Fury. And I mean, as well, to think that, you know, negotiations could be that easy between Wilder and Fury. Why is it that it's become so problematic between Hearn and Finkel? Like, it's obvious that it's from Matchroom's side that the negotiations haven't run smoothly. But then I think, in a way, you've got to counter that by saying there's a lot more on the line for Joshua's side, because he's got the 3 out of the 4 belts, excluding the IBO belt.
Yeah,
that's a lot more big. There's a bigger proportion of the pie than what Fury's bringing to the table.
As you said, I think on that basis, there's definitely no shadow of a doubt that, you know, negotiating for Joshua Wilder is much harder than Wilder Fury, because Fury, even though we know he brings reputation, he really doesn't bring anything like physical to the table. In terms of a belt. But I think for me, it's just about how the saga's been drawn out. So you're right. You know, people may look at the negotiation tactics. I think the key things are going to be the 50 million and the fact that was kind of been pushed around and said that doesn't exist, or it does exist. We didn't get this contract. Then, you know, contracts that Shelley Finkel spoke he was involved with for Joshua and Klitschko that had both Joshua and Eddie Hearn's signature. I think we're probably in a little bit, and this is to go off piece, but I think a little bit of some of this will also have to do with the DAZN piece. You know, Eddie Hearn's structured a fantastic deal for himself and potentially his fighters on the DAZN program, and obviously how much of that affects Joshua. You know, Hearn said something which I thought was interesting when it came to that whole contract signature point, and he was quite clear that, you know, he was, I won't say he was like he owns Joshua, but he was very much like, you know, like, I signed for Joshua, I am Joshua, I am the promotion, I am his promotion, like, I take care of him. Well, now that they've signed this new agreement, you know, maybe has Joshua given up a bit more independence. Maybe he's not as kind of like a boss as we thought. Maybe that has something to do with it. But I think ultimately, yeah, it's been a negative look for the Matchroom guys, because, you know, you've had, forgetting all the other contract stuff, it was the basics of let the guy come to the ring. that will help sell the fight. You're saying it's not a big fight. It clearly was. We all knew that fight would be 100 million. They said no. I mean, yeah, it's just so much. And like you said, it's just one thing from her, and then the next week he changes his tune. So, yeah, let's see how they react. I think when Coogan's back from holiday, we'll probably get an interview, and then all the AJ protectors will have their narrative to start screaming. But, yeah, no, it's going to be interesting. So, listen, I see we've got a couple of callers. I'm going to open up the line, and then we'll go from there. So, 985, I think that's man like Daniel. 985.
How we doing?
Yes, how you doing, bro? You all right?
Daniel. How we doing, man?
We're good. You well? The reception, mate. All right, listen, we're going to move on and come back to you if you're still online. We're going to go out to 251. 251, hello.
Hey, how you doing, man? How you doing?
Yes, what's going on, Dwayne? Long time, bro. You well?
Yeah, not too bad, man. Battling and hanging in there, bro.
Okay.
How you doing as well, Tom, man?
How's it going, Dwayne? You right, mate?
It's not too bad, man. Feels good to be back on the line.
I tell you, man, it's good to catch up, man. How's things with the interviews, man? You guys been doing anything of late?
Yeah, kind of like reevaluating a few things at the moment, so we're kind of on pause for a little bit. But still keeping our eyes on the boxing scene as fans, first and foremost, for sure.
100%.
Plenty of beer, Dwayne.
Say that again?
Plenty of beer while you've been off.
Have I been having a beer?
Yeah, no, plenty of beer while you've been off.
No doubt. Absolutely, man.
What's on your mind, D, man?
Oh, all this, I don't even know where to start. I think it's the whole Wilder, Fury, AJ, Eddie Hearn saga, the way how it's all ended now. Yeah. I think it's clear to see that AJ and Eddie didn't want the Wilder fight. They came up with excuse after excuse after excuse, and what they say within 2 days, Wilder and Fury agreed on the fight. I think this all looks terrible for AJ. Personally, as a fan first, I have zero interest in that Povetkin fight. No interest at all. I'm not even going to watch it. I'd consider watching it on YouTube. I'm disgusted with that fight. I'm tired of all of the rubbish. Who cares if the arenas are packed out? Who cares, innit? Like, who cares?
I mean, it's interesting you say that, D, because there are tickets still available for this fight. So I know there's, rumours the link to the secondary market being shut down, but, these tickets came out a while ago. And this was before these secondary market sites have been shut down. So I think that is quite telling, the fact that you can still get tickets for Anthony Joshua, whereas previously you were made to believe that you couldn't. It's the opponent, it's the behaviour as well. I mean, what do you make of the Fury Wilder face-to-face in the ring?
I think again, it's just all egg in the face of Matchroom, man. It's so simple for him to get in the ring. This is a part of boxing tradition. It's what we're used to seeing. Why in the world Wilder couldn't get in the ring, God knows. I think with Fury and Wilder directly, they clearly got like a good kind of relationship. So it's a bit WWE-ish, I'll say that.
Yes.
When that bell goes and it's fight time, there ain't going to be no theatrics. It's going to be straight down to business.
Yes.
I look forward to this fight.
Yeah.
Boxer versus brawler, for sure. Yeah. Sorry, boxer versus brawler.
Yeah. I mean, and you know what? It's interesting you say that, and I would agree with you. But the thing is, it's like, and this is not even trying to get take anything against you, but it's interesting because we definitely know this is WWE, but at least these are guys that are kind of, I guess, I don't want to say just totally genuine, but, they speak from their heart, from their mouth, from the sleeves. And if they know that it's their good best interest to egg it up, I think that's good because it brings eyeballs. But actually, if you remember when we had Joshua and Klitschko and it was not WWE, but it was just so nice, it was also boring. So, I think I would always prefer this. I always prefer to see the two guys coming together. Yeah, respectful, but they're letting them know what their intentions are. Because as you said, when the bell goes, there won't be any jokes. And there will still be respect.
And another thing as well, what I like, I think, even if it's not the case, but for whoever wins, whether it's Wilder or Fury, it's the perfect strategy for the winner, because if they do eventually go into talks with Matchroom for the AJ fight, Matchroom can't take that same pompous, arrogant stance of black beans and blah blah, because they're going to be doing pay-per-view in the States and UK. Yeah. Collectively, that's something that AJ still don't fight the winner after this, then it's just going to be more and more clear for the boxing fans. And I liked what I saw. I watched a lot of the boxing voice, Ness. He was out there doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff and that.
Yeah.
You can see that Wilder was getting a lot of love from the public, man.
Exactly. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's the thing. All that little stuff, even the US fans, they're like, Hearn was lying. And it's like,
Yeah.
the thing is, it's not even lying. It's like, that's his job, but it's also your job as a fan to see through the bullshit. You know, he has to say stuff. All this stuff of, I'm going to ask a random person, do you know who Deontay Wilder is? And they don't know. I mean, I'm pretty certain I could go to some places and ask a random person, say, do you know who Joshua is? And they will say no, because they might not even be interested in boxing, period. So I thought that all that was interesting. I think, definitely you're talking about Joshua Povetkin. Yeah, we're going to see what happens. I think next is White. But just to ask you, though, from what you've seen so far, what you saw of Fury on Saturday, who would you be picking should Wilder and Fury fight in November or December?
Well, that's the thing. It's like, I try not to really judge Fury's performance or assess it and look at it as that's what he'll do against Wilder. Because I think Fury's the kind of fighter that he rises to the occasion. So I think we shouldn't really write him off based on that performance. And because of the type of style he has, he can still make it a hard fight for Wilder, because effectively all he has to do is just hit and not get hit and get through the rounds. That's what I think it's going to boil down to. So I see Wilder doing similar to what he done against Klitschko. The fact that he done that, he's got the experience, and mentally he knows what
Fury,
he's capable of.
Fury did with the Klitschko.
Sorry, yeah, what Fury did with Klitschko. He's got the mental experience to know how to deal with it. And Wilder, obviously, he's just so unorthodox. It's always possible that he could get a shot in.
Yeah.
So, I look forward to the fight, man. I look forward to the fight.
I'm telling you.
And Dwayne, just before we move on to the next caller, what attributes do you think give Fury the advantage against Wilder in terms of, like we mentioned before, about his footwork, his head movement, his upper body, dynamics? What sort of gives him the upper hand against Wilder if he is to be at his 100% best?
I guess more or less everything you mentioned and the experience against Klitschko, I think gives him the advantage. Physically, they're more or less the same kind of height. I think Fury's got a bit of a longer reach, but I think it's more about it's more like, I don't want to compare Wilder to Eubank Jr., but it's that type of scenario where Wilder just throwing wild punches and doing all this madness. He's unorthodox, but Fury's a boxer. With that said, though, we have to remember that Wilder was an Olympian, he got a bronze medal, so he can box if he chooses to. So I guess the comparison with Eubank Jr. is a bit harsh.
Yeah,
Do you think that goes a bit overshadowed as well, the Olympic pedigree that Wilder's has? Do you think in terms of these big fights?
I think it has, but I think that benefits Wilder, because fighters will go in there underestimating him, thinking he can't box, and then the next thing you know, he switches to style, and it's a problem. So you never know, man. But I think Wilder's. I kind of just about put Wilder as the favourite, but you can't write off Fury. And all this talk about he's had a 3-year layoff, it don't really matter, man. He's got the ring rust off. He's an experienced boxer. He'll be ready, man. And his camp as well, his dad and all them, they're gonna make damn sure he's ready.
Yeah.
100%.
Exactly, man. So no, I appreciate your time. D, anything else you want to mention?
Too many things I could mention, man. But I don't know. I look forward to the fight. I don't look forward to the Povetkin AJ fight at all. I'm literally not going to watch it. It's garbage. And I think that Wilder and Fury done the best thing they could have done to get in the ring with each other, man. I love it.
And what do you make of the whole, a lot of chickens being flying around Belfast as well, with the whole Saunders Nando situation?
Even that type of stuff, it just helps the whole promotion. Billy Joe being Billy. It was hilarious watching him running out of the building and all that, but he still had the guts to say it straight to Wilder's face, and they wrapped it up. I think that's what they have. They have this mutual respect to each other, innit? Where even if they can be a bit disrespectful, they kind of respect each other in the same breath. So that's why I think they could just cool it off so easy. Yeah, I love all the noise. I watched it all, man. Get my eye on it closely.
Exactly, and that's the thing you said there. Like, it's entertainment, it's noise, but it breeds respect. So you get it, you make it happen. So listen, Dave, appreciate your time and calling in as always. We'll be back in the studio soon. So listen, let's get a date, get you in. Maybe we try and do it for the Canelo Triple G remix. rematch. Sorry. Get you down to the studio then.
Yeah, we figure something out for sure, man. Thanks a lot, man.
Bless, man.
Good work, Steve.
Alright.
Take care, lads.
Take care, man.
Yeah, take care, Tom.
Cheers, man.
Alright.
Cheers. Yeah, and I think that's Daniel. Daniel's back. Hello, D.
How we doing, fellas?
Yes, we're all good, man. Appreciate that, man. How you keeping?
Yeah, keeping well. You boys all right?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Thoughts? What's your thoughts on the action this weekend?
Obviously, Tyson Fury getting the rounds in. A lot of these little critics, casual fans saying he weren't this, he weren't that. Well, listen, there's only going to be one winner if that fight goes on in a few months' time. And Kojo, you know as well as I know what's going to happen. You know how it's going to pan out, mate. You know exactly how it's going to pan out.
Boy, tell me. I don't even know myself. Tell me, man. I'm listening. I'm intrigued.
Listen. Wilder's going to get his head boxed off, mate. He's going to be missing.
Yeah?
Getting frustrated.
Sorry, D, listen, there's a bit of background noise.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there's a bit of a fuzz.
There's only going to be one winner, mate.
Yeah,
There's only going to be one winner. I mean,
that's
listen,
better.
do you hear me now?
Yeah, that's much better.
There's only going to be one winner, and listen, he's a smart fighter. We know he ain't got the power to knock people out, right? But he'll just box to instructions, and he'll frustrate Wilder, and he'll take his belt off him, and it's that simple.
I mean, do you think it's points, just a straight points decision?
Did you say it again, please, Kojo?
I said, so it's a straight points win for Fury?
I think so, yes. I think so. I mean, obviously we know Wilder got fantastic power, but I think the focus of Fury, because of what he knows what's in front of him, the focus that will be there, he won't get hit, mate. He'll be sharp as anything, and he'll be frustrating Wilder. Trust me.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to it, mate.
Yeah,
really
I mean,
looking forward to it.
And what do you make?
Contest.
And so, what do you make of, like, obviously Fury and Wilder seem to be getting it on? What do you think this does for Joshua?
Well, I lost interest in all this antics of Joshua. I mean, what did he bottle it? I mean, what? I mean, how comes Fury and Wilder was able to get this going so easily?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, end of the day, I don't know. Maybe Joshua just weren't up for it. I don't know. I don't know. There's politics behind it that we just don't know. And,
but at least we're getting a fight.
Say that again.
I said we can see a fight. I mean, I will say, and I definitely, I'm probably gonna struggle to call this fight purely because I think Fury can get to his fitness. I think you need to be at the level of fitness. I think he's got a skill set, but the fitness wise, you can't get hit by a big shot. And I really could see Fury even outboxing Wilder for 11 rounds. And then in the 11th round, Wilder just does something and catches him properly. And then all of a sudden, the fight is different. So yeah, it's a weird one, but I'm happy that, you know, this is where we are. I'm happy that these are the talks that have been concluded. I hope we get an announcement soon. And yeah, I think it's great for the heavyweight division.
Just switching it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Is Frampton fighting Warrington?
Yep. So I've been talking to Tom. You wanna?
Yeah.
Is that confirmed? Yeah.
Yeah. Been confirmed.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay. So Jen,
Had the Frampton fight from the weekend?
I didn't. How did you rate his performance?
Yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Coach. Was it was 9th round stoppage, wasn't it?
That's correct. 9th round stoppage.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it was quite a. I mean, Luke Jackson, give credit where credit's due, did stay in there quite a long time. I mean, he was getting beaten up between sort of 6 to 8 rounds, but he was always coming back, firing back. But I think Frampton was just that extra bit sharper with his jab, and he's very good judger of distance as well. And I think that was very problematic for Jackson to get any foothold on the fight. But I mean, it's going to be a tough one to call. I mean, who do you see winning the fight between? Based on Warrington's last performance, Daniel, and Frampton at his very best, who do you see winning coming through that fight?
You know, I'm going to go for Warrington.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to go for Warrington. And you? Can I get a prediction from both you guys?
So to let you go first.
Interesting one. You know what? I mean, the head-to-head definitely, I would say, opened maybe my mind. I still see potentially a Frampton win. I don't want to say location will play its part, but I do think it can. I think Warrington more than impressed me against Selby. I think we saw that. He won that fight outright. I think it's a great match of styles because Frampton's got a better defense than probably people give him credit for, and he's also got a good jab, and he's also, he's obviously he's nimble on his feet. We can see that. So yeah, I think Warrington's style. I think he will find it more difficult against facing Selby. Not to say that I think Frampton can beat Selby, but I think Frampton will probably be more adept to kind of like deal with that pressure. Maybe even defend. If I had to put my money on it, I think I will go with Frampton if I had to put my money on one of the two. But I don't think it will be an easy fight. I think it will be a very close fight. Tom?
Yeah, well, it's going to be a cracking fight, that's for sure.
Tom, what would you think?
Sorry. I think personally it's... I see it being a better fight than the Frampton-Santa Cruz first one. I think if I'm going to give a prediction, I'd go for Frampton probably winning by 2 or 3 rounds. But I think, like Chloe said, it's going to be a close fight. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was a split decision or a majority decision. But I don't see it being a landslide for sure. Yeah, because I think I have to give Warrington his respect in that, when he was at Matchroom, he was a good prospect, and he's kind of delivered. So now that he's got a belt, he does have an IBF belt. He's a world champion. He's going to work hard to maintain that. So. We've seen Frampton can be beat. I think that's the good thing as well. We've seen Frampton can be beat, so it offers light to Warrington. But I think Warrington Frampton is a good fighter. I think if you think back after the Santa Cruz first win, he was Sports Personality of the Year. For ESPN maybe, probably one of the few British and Irish respected world champions at the time. I think he's definitely got some credence in his backlog. But be a good fight. So D, listen, we're gonna let you go, but appreciate the support and calling in as always.
No worries.
And we'll catch up soon.
Show as usual.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice one. Have a good night.
Same to you, man. Appreciate that. Take it easy.
See you later.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah. So Tom, what did you think of the Frampton performance in general?
Yeah, it was a quality performance. Luke Jackson was getting, he was taking a lot of punishment towards the obviously the stoppage in the ninth. I think from the very off, Frampton's judgment of distance, he just razor sharp jab, and could only really see it being going one way. But I think most importantly, just to see the improvements made under Jamie Moore, and Frampton looks like a much more stronger fighter than what he was, say, under the McGuigan camp, and he seems to be punching a lot harder, a lot more sort of in bunches. He's catching his shots really well, and he's always been known for not wasting a lot of shots. But I think as it comes to the elite level, where he's proven against Santa Cruz and now getting his opportunity against Warrington, that sort of conserving that energy and being able to save your shots is helping him a lot, and he's even more sort of brute force going into his hooks and his uppercuts, and he was catching beautiful uppercuts on the insides. He was catching Jackson with uppercut after uppercut, and it was beautiful to watch.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree with you. It was a very slick, stylish performance from Frampton. I'm going to be honest. I didn't think this was going to be anything else. Because when I think we're definitely looking at the Warrington fight, which is coming next, and I think sometimes because of the loss, and that's what happens in boxing. Sometimes somebody gets a loss, and we kind of forget everything. And I'm just thinking, for me, I didn't see Frampton having any trouble going into that fight. So I'm glad that he stopped him, because I think the key thing about stopping a guy like a Luke Jackson is that it shows you're still of that worldly level, in the sense of you're getting the job done. You're not letting them finish the fight. He wasn't, in my opinion, in trouble at any time. So probably, he was working, he's got a new coach, so maybe took that as an opportunity to work on some new things. I think, for me, Frampton just needs to really be in the big fights. I said this last time, he just needs to somehow, Warrington is definitely a step up. He gets a belt. If that's his route, potentially. I don't think it will come easy. But he needs to be fighting. There's contenders at the global level. And if you lose, so what? Like, you're fighting the big names. Your career will know that you took on the big names. And to my mind now, he's only really had Santa Cruz. That you would arguably say. Because now even the Quigg fight, it's going into it, it was a domestic grudge, but really there were levels in that fight that you saw Frampton put show. So it's it's for me, it's interesting. What do you make of the team in terms of like work? He's no longer with McGuigan, working with Jamie Moore. What do you think? What improvements have you seen?
Yeah, he seems a lot more happy in himself. Like, I'm not disputing that he wasn't happy under McGuigan, but it just seems that the chemistry within the Jamie Moore camp and how he's elevated himself as a trainer, it seems to sort of propel Frampton, Cummins, Martin Murray, when they're fighting, and it seems they gelling in the gym. Also got Jack Catterall as well. So it's a very good environment to be in. Like it's a cliche in boxing, a happy fighter is a dangerous fighter, but Frampton, like I've said, is punching much harder. He's looking the part, and he seems to be improving fight by fight. And like you just said there, there's no shame in losing to a fighter like Santa Cruz, or even if he loses to Warrington, he's said himself openly that he would have to sort of look at it and say, call it a day if he was to lose. But even if it's in a close fight of the year,
exactly.
Fight, there's no reason why he should, hang up. There's always an opportunity for a rematch. There's other featherweights out there that are on the up, or in and around world level. And you just see with like Abner Mares, he's lost the fight to Santa Cruz, and he's been tipped to box Gervonta Davis in his next fight, and that's what Mayweather wants for Davis. So there's always a chance to move up,
exactly.
For one or two more paydays. And he's not taken much damage, really, has he? So
exactly. You hit
it'd be a shame to think that he'd hang his gloves up after this year.
I think, and if anything, the fact that he believes he would retire if he lost to a Warrington, I think says a lot of where he believes he should be. So make sure he should start fighting the opposition, because like we're saying, you lose to credible opposition in a close fight. Okay, you've got the L on your record, but not in the minds of fans. Even we look back to guys that have lost fights that have been close, and we're like, massive respect. That's what I really want to see from Frampton. I think you spoke. When we talk about like the difference, I think his bank account's probably looking a lot more healthier. But overall, I would say also maybe there's less pressure, because obviously working with McGuigan, the history that he brings as a boxer, the kind of, I don't want to say father son, but there's that element to their relationship, and how proud they were making the country, and maybe working with the likes of Jamie Moore is less pressure. I know there was talk about McGuigan and who he had in his camp at the time when it was Frampton, Groves and Hay. I don't know how much of an impact that will be, but I think he seems to be he's skillful, fast, as you said, good punch shot, taking good shots self. So let's just see him in the bigger fights. That would be my take on it. Going back to something, I want to go on the whole Wilder Fury. You heard Actually, no, sorry. I think you might want to ask me something about Warrington, right?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, like you said, there's a lot more pressure on. In this fight, Warrington. I mean, it's a test, if anything. If Warrington beats Frampton, then I mean, you can dismiss all this stuff about, even though the performance by Warrington against Selby was very comprehensive, it rules out any sort of doubt that it wasn't that Selby wasn't up to scratch, or that he was very tight of the weight.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just shows how good Warrington is. And I mean, in terms of watching ringside, what weaknesses, if any, I mean, you can sort of talk about previous fights that Frampton's had. Any particular weaknesses that you see that Warrington will have an upper advantage if he can exploit any weaknesses?
I'll be honest, no, because I mean, yes, but I don't know if that's Frampton's style. I'm sorry, if that's Warrington's style. So if you look at the Santa Cruz fight, the one where obviously he won the rematch, you can see he used the jab a lot more. He kind of used the jab, but then also closed the distance by grappling. So it didn't allow Frampton to build up any type of momentum or rhythm into his fighting game. I would say Warrington could probably take that, because if I remember, he's taller, so I would assume the reach is going to probably be in his favour. But again, I don't believe in height against skillful boxers anyway, but that's probably an area that you would say Warrington would look to focus on. The pressure is what he's known for. I think he's going to bring in that regardless. But the key with that pressure is that he doesn't get caught and Frampton just pivots out the way and all of a sudden he's looking at him sideways. That is going to be really key. Selby didn't display that, and that's what we thought he might do. So I don't think there's much weaknesses. And I don't know, I get the impression with Warrington that he's more of a guy that he's just turning up to do what he does because he believes what he does is good enough.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah, what about you?
Yeah, it was spot on, really. Warrington is sort of one of those fighters that he's just able to turn up and adapt to the light, like he said numerous times. But, I mean, I can't really see any weaknesses that Frampton possesses. He just seems to be a lot more complete fighter. I'm not saying that he wasn't a complete fighter under Wigan, but there's obviously, you could lose in a fight to Santa Cruz. You can't just obviously blame the height difference. There's got to be sort of more technical issues that he's had to, address. And I think Jamie Moore's kind of, the relationship that they've built is, sort of smoothed him out
good,
a bit.
yeah.
He looks a lot more complete.
Definitely. So just going on to Paddy Barnes, obviously that was, I guess, an upset for the crowd. He lost his world title, the shot he had against Rosales. What do you make of the body shot?
Oh, it was a brutal one. I mean, I've watched it about 3-4 times now.
Are you still in pain?
Yeah, I mean, I even felt the pain, coach. Let alone him. He trained 8 to 10, 12 weeks, and think that it's just one of those shots. It gets it right in the liver, and it's just you can't recover from those ones. I mean, personally, I've taken a few, but I wouldn't imagine how much power that he, even as a flyweight, how much power he carries. But yeah, I mean, do you see it as like we were talking about it before we came on air about it being like a carbon copy of Ankerhurst versus Condon and Casemiro Edwards? Do you feel it's just a bit too early for Barnes?
Yeah, I do.
That level?
I do, and I think especially when it comes to kind of like these unknown guys, it's like what you were saying. I think the South Americans, Filipino, those lighter divisions, they've got stacked fighters and fighters that don't really get the opportunity, so you don't know how dangerous they are, and they may have 1 or 2 losses, but that doesn't mean that they're a weak link, so to say. And I think I didn't tell a lot about Rosales. Obviously, I read about him. I know that he got the belt from going over to Japan, which is obviously impressive. But when you look at the fight, Barnes wasn't like totally dominated, but I just felt he was second best for everything. And I asked you the question about the body shot. I mean, even when you look at how he threw the body shot and where it landed in terms of that part of your chest, your stomach, like you said, the liver. I mean, it's like he threw it, and there's a way you throw something and it sinks into the body, but there's those ones where it bounces off the body. And for me, it was like it was such a sharp bam right in the chest, and his hand just bounced back out. I mean, yeah, for me, perfectly executed. And and you really don't get up. And the thing about that kind of body shots is you don't even see it a lot in the higher weight classes, because literally they ruin guys. So that's the type of shot you wouldn't want a how do you say, a Groves to give to Callum Smith, because that ends the fight. No matter who I don't care who you are, it ends the fight.
Yeah, and it was very up close as well. It was one of those, like you said, one of those shots that he probably didn't see. Maybe he just didn't, drop his guard a bit lower. But it seemed that it caught him right in the midriff. But I mean, when you sort of pick, that punch and you land it so perfectly, it doesn't matter where you hit around the, the midriff or the side, the body, he's going to have damage. And obviously showed that he wasn't able to get up. But yeah.
And how good do you think Rosales is?
I mean, I haven't seen much of him before Barnes fight. I just looked him up, and like you said, 3 defeats. I mean, you can't really discredit someone like that. I mean, to have this opportunity to be an Olympian like Paddy Barnes, that's his make or break. Now he can go on. He can maybe move up in weight, fight some of the super flyweights around. But yeah, it's just the explosion that he's got from it. I mean, a heavy knockout like that is going to have a lot to say for his career going forward. So.
No, definitely. And in terms of let's quickly go on to the Saunders and Wilder Nando scuffle. What did you make of that?
Very funny. No, it's just it's good for the, like Dwayne said, it's good for the build up, and yeah, I mean, he's walking a very tightrope, coach, and if he did that against maybe a Joshua, there's no reason to say that he wouldn't get a slap for it, but yeah. But
a Billy Joe Saunders? You're talking a Billy Joe?
Yeah, no, but he's very good against people's heads, and that's not many people could do that. So, it's not even just that; it's the people that he's just been dragging off the street when he's up in Sheffield training, doing like Instagram lives and stuff. Very, it's good. It's funny. Like,
I mean, I do think. And you're right. I will say I do think that's why I think a few people wouldn't have minded to see them catch up with him. But I think where the interesting thing is, and there's the gap is, like, obviously they're throwing food, but what is it? I guess that really made Billy Joe Saunders, i.e., was Wilder running at him, or was it one of the team? Because you see one of the team chasing after him, but was it Wilder really trying to get his hands on him? So I mean, that's just something it would have been good to see. But yeah, as you said, I think it's all part of the drama. It makes for entertainment. It makes for entertainment. It makes for hashtags. It makes for YouTube videos. Even the fact when they had to break the ice and come and apologise, you could tell that was MTK's doing. So I like that. I definitely like that in terms of how it adds to the build-up. And I think before we wind down, let's just talk about a couple of other bits. So the WBSS, another category, season 2. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, another cruiserweight tournament it seems. But now that this Usyk Bellew fight's in the works for November, it takes a lot of credibility away from the tournament. There's not going to be any belts on the line. I was actually just going to bring up earlier about Usyk's sort of path to AJ now, because I can't really see. I can see AJ and Matchroom avoiding Wilder longer than what it seems that the fight will happen next year. But I can see if they avoiding him for another at least a year, because obviously with the zone deal, there's opponents like Pulev, Miller, in the works, and even Usyk's a viable opponent in the future. So whether or not if it's going to be the same draw of opponents, Bradis, Ortikos, Gassiev, I mean, I'm not really buying into it. I'd have much preferred to see maybe the light middleweights, Charlo, Munguia, even Brook be running, because if this Brook-Tan fight doesn't happen once and for all, then why not go into that? Or maybe have the light heavyweight tournament. There's a lot more other options than going back, because it's a massive risk now that he's done a cruiserweight tournament, because there's not as much interest that's going to be put into it if there's no belts on the line. Do you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, no, agreed. And I think, what? I think it's all about who they get to compete. I think if they can start bringing in some competitors that are the fringe guys, guys that you're not sure if they're going to make it to world level, guys that are not too far from it, maybe a couple of interesting wild cards, I think it still can be a good tournament. I think there's a check there, so people will fight for that. And it would be even better if the winner of that goes on to face a Usyk or a Bellew. I don't think that's a bad thing, because then, you know, you're not far from talking about the likes of, I doubt he would go in something like this, but, you know, your Coley's, Andrew Tabitis, you know, you start looking at that kind of world. Even like the loser of Matty Askins and the Coley may go into this, or whoever the winner is may feel that they're the right level. So, yeah, I do like the format. I'm still happy that the fact that, you know, they've brought another division, they brought the same division into it. I know it's not ideal, but I think, you know what, we've got to get behind this. But I can see we've got another call on, so I'm going to just open the line quickly and let them get their piece out. So 012, the floor is yours.
Go Joe, it's Joe. You okay, mate?
How you doing, mate? You all?
Yeah, mate. I've literally just got in the car and rang in, so you'll have to update me on what's been going on.
Nothing much, mate. Yeah, we've got Tom here. Yeah, no, it's just we just touched on the WBS cruiserweight, but we've gone through obviously the Fury performance, the Wilder versus Fury face to face, the Frampton performance, the potential clash of Warrington. So any of the above, mate, it's your pick.
Yeah, I think I'm excited about the idea of Fury and Wilder. I'm kind of reluctant to believe it until I actually see them in the ring together. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I think I just like the fact that, you know, when he was interviewed after it, Tyson, he was like, "Yeah, I was offered the fight. They sent me the contract, and I said yes." I think it almost made Joshua and Hearn become like irrelevant overnight.
Mm.
Yeah. I don't think Joshua ever wanted that fight. There's one thing that's always stuck with me is, do you remember when Dylan White beat Lucas Brown and he started calling out Wilder after it?
Yes.
Well, then when a few weeks later or whatever it was, Joshua beat Parker, and then he was interviewed after the fight, and he said, like, well, what do you think of the thought of facing Wilder next to Joshua? And he said, it's like Dylan said, let's go Wilder. And I just think if you really wanted it, you wouldn't have even mentioned Dylan White.
Mm.
It's almost like, oh, well, Dylan said this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think if you remember as well, in that same interview, he was very frustrated that that they were asking him about Wilder.
Yeah. I mean, I know there's a lot of politics and things in boxing with like promoters and broadcasters and stuff, but when you listen to like important people talk, they all say that if the fighters want the fight, it'll happen.
Yes.
And it seems like only one side of it wanted the fight.
Yeah, no, I think...
Yeah, and
No, go on, Tom. Sorry, mate.
No, I was just going to say, so as much as, you know, that AJ and White had a feud, do you think, in a way, I mean, like you just said there, that AJ put Dylan White before his own preference, do you think that's indicating that he's trying to use White as an opponent for Wilder, just as much as Hearn's trying to put him before Joshua?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think if he really wanted the fight, like he says he does, you just call him out. But he's too busy trying to do this humble rubbish, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's refreshing to see like Wilder and Fury just say it as it is.
Yeah,
exactly. So no, I was just going to say, Tom, I think, you know, you said that, Joe. For me, I think, you know, I want to go as far and say that as the public, and a lot more of the public is starting to see, because at the end of the day, this is boxing, and there's so much of... I like Joshua. I've got a lot of respect for what he's done and where he's come to, but I think in terms of his personality, just be free, just be yourself a bit. It's okay to swear. It's okay to even just let yourself be partied, having a few drinks or whatever, but the too much commercial element, like the money's only going to get you so far, and then when you're offered the biggest money, I think that's the big thing here, is that the fact that he then gets offered 80 million and he said, you offer me that and I'm on it, like that was raised, and all of a sudden you've backed down. I don't believe all this, talk is cheap. You have to talk. This is the boxing game. You need to talk, you know. So, yeah, I think you're right. They didn't want it. I think, you know, not letting him, so when I say him, Wilder, come to the fight, and not even just the Parker fight, even for this Povetkin fight, they said, can we turn up? And they still refused. So that says a lot.
Yeah, I know. I like that video of Fury and Wilder in the lobby of the Europa Hotel in Belfast. It went viral like straight away, and it's like they missed such a trick there, Hearn and Joshua, to make that fight massive, because like you say, they refused Wilder entry, and even if they did let him come to the fight, I reckon they'd have palmed him off with Dylan White anyway.
Exactly.
Well, to protect AJ a little bit, for another fight or something.
Yeah, I agree. The other thing as well, and I hate to say it, but I do think if we got to see Wilder and Joshua face to face, I think we will see the side of Joshua they don't want us to see. And I'm not even talking about the street. I'm talking about, I think, like, I don't want fear might be too strong, but I think you would have seen that this is...
I completely agree.
Yeah, do you get what I mean? It's like he knows this is somebody...
If he was on like the top table with Wilder or Fury, he'd just shrink.
Yes. I agree.
Like, emotionally, do you know what I mean? Because let's be honest, like, I'm not his biggest fan, but whenever he tries to talk for himself, he sounds stupid. Yeah. He comes out with some stupid comments, but when he gives you these media-driven cliches and things that are like, on the prompt or whatever it is, he sounds all clever and interesting and humble, but as soon as he speaks for himself, he makes a bit of a tool of himself.
Yeah,
he doesn't really cover it up, does he? Because, in terms of external interviews that he does away from Sky Sports, there's a lot of time that he's very straight the way he talks, and it's not. If you were so well media trained, why would you try and act another way for other media outlets, knowing that it's been exposed to the whole world that you are being a bit two-faced in a way?
Yeah, and I
think you'd have a lot more pure boxing fans, that would be fans of his if he was just himself. Like, I think that's why, like I say, like Fury and the likes are so popular with actual boxing fans, because they're just themselves. They just go about the business, say it how it is, and call people out, and that's what we want to see.
And we're talking Fury Wilder. I mean, you got to add even a Dillian White to that list. I mean, Dillian White, to me, I would say is arguably one of the fan favourites in terms of where he was when he lost to Joshua to where he is now. I've been in arenas and the guy gets swamped, and you know what? The difference is he's approachable in terms of he's not pushing people away. It's none of that. He's happy, and I know Joshua is a big star, but I mean, you're 6'5", 6'6". No one's gonna trouble you. Just be easy. I think he should be himself. I think this trying to be a commercial director, all this kind of language, nah, I'm not buying it. So
but wears a bit thin after a while, doesn't it?
Exactly. So what about any of the other fights? What do you think of Frampton or Paddy Barnes' performance?
I only saw the knockout. I didn't watch the Paddy Barnes fight. I saw the knockout. But from everything I've heard, it was almost like he was really, really struggling to hang in there, giving it everything to hang in there. Whereas the Rosales, he was just kind of cruising. I don't know. Like I say, I haven't seen the fight, but the shot was an absolute peach.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say when I say cruising is tough, because it wasn't like Paddy Barnes couldn't do anything. He was just second best. So even when he was hitting him, his power didn't seem as deadly as Rosales. He was, they were having some good exchanges, but he was just second best. Maybe not third best, but he was just second best. And I know there's only two of them, but do you know what I mean? There was not hope, but you were looking at, there were moments in the fight, we were thinking, maybe Paddy Barnes could cause an upset. But then you realise he's just getting pushed around a little bit, like the jabs, just moving him back, just even if it's ever so slightly, it's still early in the fight. So, like you said, it was a peach of a shot when it caught him.
Yeah, definitely. I enjoyed the Frampton fight. I love watching Frampton box, but I can't help but feel that he's one of those that kind of he boxes it to his opponent's level, kind of thing. So I think you see the best of him when he's put under pressure. Like the Donaire fight was really good. I know Donaire was past it a bit, but the two Santa Cruz fights were absolutely brilliant. And don't get me wrong, he was impressive at the weekend, but I don't know, I feel like if the other guy had opened up a little bit and come to fight, then Frampton could have got him out there earlier. You're not far on that. And I think, with Frampton, I think... He was tough, but that was about it.
Yeah, I think with Frampton, we were just saying, the Warrington fight is probably going to be one of the best things to happen to him really in the next few months, because it allows him a path to get a belt, and then he just needs to fight top quality opposition, because he is a good fighter. He was... he's a good fighter, so I think that's what we need to see. But the Josh Warrington fight can't rule anything out in that. So
No, I agree.
Yeah,
I almost feel like say he fights Warrington, for example, at the end of the year, and then they'll have a big fight maybe early next year. I I think that big fight might just come a little bit too late for him. I think he's got one, maybe two really good performances left in Frampton, and I just hope that he doesn't get shown up against Santa Cruz or Gary Russell or whoever it might be after Warrington, because I feel like it might just be a touch too late for him.
Yeah. I mean, go on, Tom.
Do you think, Joe, that staying at featherweight is going to be like, if he does stay around for another year? I mean, moving up to super feather, there's not really the massive standout name up there apart from Davis or
I don't think he's big enough for super featherweight. To be honest, I don't think he's big enough for featherweight. He's got the frame, but he's got really short arms. Like I think he'd really struggle if he moved up to super featherweight.
Yeah, no, definitely, man.
But like, my favourite fighter, Frampton, so I really want him to do well, and I hope he beats Warrington, and then obviously gets a big fight off the back of that.
We definitely want the big fight. So listen, Joe, we're going to make a move, but I appreciate you calling in, giving in your words of advice, and speak to you soon, mate. Appreciate the support.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Cheers, bye-bye. Cheers, bye-bye. Bye. So that's it, Tom. Another week, another showdown. I think next week there'll probably be no show because there's not much boxing on this weekend, and it's the bank holiday weekend, so we'll be back. Exactly, we definitely got it all crammed in. So we'll be back September the 4th, and that will be the month of September, which officially opens the new boxing season. And we'll be more than excited for that because that means we've got a lot more fights to be discussing, a lot more interviews, get the boxers back in the studio, and giving you the best in boxing as we only know how to do. So everybody that's listening, that's tuned in today, we really appreciate your support, and we're out. Tom, do you want to give out your social media before we go?
Yep, social media, @RapsOnTV on Twitter, @RapsOnTV on Instagram, all lowercase, RapsOnTV on Facebook, and also on YouTube. And keep an eye out for the interviews and more visual content coming soon. And preparing for the new season. So that's all for me, Coach.
And what's your Instagram? What's your Instagram, mate? Let them know your Instagram so you get more followers.
A personal one?
Yeah. Or you don't want more followers?
I'm not about the personal life, Coach.
Alright, no worries. So he's part of the Raps on TV team anyway. So listen, Tom, appreciate your support, and have a good week, have a good night, and we'll catch up soon.
Yeah, enjoy the rest of your summer, mate.
Cheers, man.
Cheers. All the best.
All the best.